Welcome to the Forum for Nonprofits. Each week, we feature a different 501c charitable organization that provides services to the South Florida community. Presented as a public service by Beasley Media Group, Incorporated. And now, here's today's show.
Hey, welcome, nonprofit community. And it is a great, a little rainy here in South Florida day, which we know we're getting into the rainy season, which we need. But hey, this is Kara Zimmerman, and I'm the host for the Forum for Nonprofit radio show. And I want to thank Spirit of Giving Network first and foremost for sponsoring this program that I love so much, because it offers so many nonprofits in our Broward and Palm Beach and further north counties, the community here, to hear so many nonprofits, what they're doing, so many that we didn't know what they were doing. You don't hear a lot about what's going on in the background with so much help. And so today, it's really an honor for me to have an opportunity to introduce Danita Nias. She's the Vice President of Institutional Advancement and CEO of FAU Foundation. And Danita, that's quite a mouthful. I'm waiting for you, first of all, to come on and say hey, and then just go right into what is that?
Hi, Kara.
Hi.
How are you? Good afternoon, nonprofit community, or good morning, depending on the time this is being aired. And yes, Kara, my name and my titles are a mouthful.
It really is.
It is. So yes, as Vice President of Institutional Advancement for Florida Atlantic University, I oversee all of our external activities, namely fundraising and alumni affairs, and all of the back-of-the-house activities that support those efforts. And then my title as CEO for the Florida Atlantic University Foundation relates to the repository for our donors' gifts. We serve as fiduciaries. We oversee the asset investments in the portfolio. And so it's not an unusual title for an individual like me to hold at a university, and it's a privilege to be able to serve the institution in a way that attracts people and their philanthropy to help support the university's priorities.
Wow. It's that is a mouthful, but you know what? I'm curious too, because with this time of year when students are graduating from high school, college, looking for that next step, what would they have to do to become as esteemed as you are with the background? What would you recommend a career path? Because it sounds like perhaps you would need some business background. What would you recommend?
So is the question, what would I recommend for somebody to do what I'm doing?
Yes. Like, what would be the path that they'd have to take? You know, so many people wonder, well, how did you get into that position? Or how did you, what did you do to get there? Yours might have been backwards, sideways, and all around to get where you're at. A lot of people say that. But if you were a young person today, what would you do?
Yeah, that's a very fair question. And my path was a bit circuitous, but not unusual. When I graduated college, I started my career in sales and sales management at a major Fortune 500 corporation. And what I learned over time, the skills that it takes to work with customers for a business are very similar to those skills that you would use in working with a donor when you're trying to attract their passion to your institution. And I also believe that if you have the disposition to work with people, sales skills are very much life skills, like life skills. You have to be able to convey an idea. You have to be able to understand what's important to others. So graduates, if you're listening, this is really important, that you're able to understand the what and the why in a conversation with a customer or a donor or somebody that's of interest to you. What's their passion? Why do they get excited about something? And then you have to transition. Once you have that clear understanding, what is it about the product or service that I'm representing that connects to that? So it requires a couple of things. It requires great listening skills, and it requires great knowledge of the product or service that you're offering so that you can make that match. And when you're able to make that match, that's when the magic happens. And I'm fortunate that that's how I started. And so here I am many years later. I didn't know what it meant to be in alumni work or development work. But at its purest form, Kara, it's understanding the passion of that individual with whom you're working or that foundation with whom you're working and connecting that passion to your institution.
Wow. Yeah, that's beautiful.
Thank you. I feel blessed.
Wow.
I feel that in many ways I'm doing God's work, particularly for a university like FAU. I'm not sure if you know how we got started, but we are the only university that was dedicated by a sitting United States president. President Lyndon B. Johnson, in 1964, came to Boca Raton to dedicate the university. And if you look at his speech, he talked about the Florida Atlantic University representing a new future of full equity in educational opportunity for all Americans. And at that time, Floridians living in the region, they all couldn't get to Gainesville, they couldn't get to Tallahassee, but they could get to their local community college. And at that time, they could earn an associate's degree, but that was it. So FAU was founded to provide those students with an opportunity to get a 4-year degree. So when we first started, and for 20 years later, after that, we were an upper school division only, junior and senior year, to provide our students with the ability to get that 4-year degree. So we did that for 20 years. As we grew and evolved and developed, the university became a 4-year institution. I believe it was in 1984. And so access to education, to quality education, is in the university's DNA. And I see that today with our current student body, a third of whom are first generation, 65% work while they're in school, and we've been able to attract philanthropy to support these students. Our donor base believes in kids using education as a means to change the trajectory of their lives.
And what better place to put your money, right? Into a child, investment into their education, into our country.
Is amazing. It is. It's beyond teaching a child how to fish, if you will. You're giving them the best investment ever, education. Nobody can take that away from them. And not only are they able to change their lives, but most often their families' lives.
Right, because probably a lot of the families didn't have the education that they're getting if they're first generation.
They did not.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, you go ahead.
I was just curious, are we in South Florida at FAU unique in this, in the students that we bring in, because we're so so attached in a way like to South America, closer to that region maybe than other states. So
well, that's a very instinctive question on your part. We are the most diverse public university. That was the word I was looking for. We are the most diverse, and we are a federally designated Hispanic serving institution, and we are a minority-majority university.
Oh, what does that mean?
So think about that. Wow, that means that most of our students are minorities.
Huh.
So when I went to school, I'm an African-American female. When I was in college, the majority of the students were Caucasian.
Yeah.
And African-Americans where I attended, I believe we were less than 10%.
Where did you go to school?
I went to the University of Maryland in College Park.
Okay.
And so if you look at FAU, as a majority university, think about the impact of that. Think about the role that this university is playing in the community and for these students. We're changing lives
thank you. Yes.
every single day.
Yeah.
Almost 42% of our students are Pell eligible, which means they qualify for federal financial aid. And that aid is used to supplement their financial needs for college. And our graduation rate gets better and better every year. So it's a pretty special place. I'll put it like that. It's very special indeed.
Now, are you on campus now, or are you at home, or how is your work environment there?
So I have been back and forth because I'm an essential employee.
Yes, you are, Danita. You are essential. I would have told them that.
Thank you. Oh, thank you. I've been working in my office most days because there's only 3 of us there. But today I happen to be in my home office because I had a number of things that I needed to just concentrate on. So I'm working from home today. But it's been a different environment in terms of for me and my colleagues who are extroverted. We get our energy from working with our donors and our students. We're not seeing them unless it's on a screen. And so for that, it's very unusual, but I will say that we're still having some success with philanthropy. You know, when this whole COVID virus happened, we were stunned by the impact on our students and their families. So we launched within a week exactly an FAU Cares Emergency Fund. And this was just a general fund. You know, donors were saying, what can I do? How can I help? You know, people were saying we can bring food, have restaurants deliver food, which is something we can't do with students who stayed on campus because there are all sorts of protocols that we have to follow through. And we said the best thing that you can do is to support them financially. And so this program has been going for, several weeks, and to date we've raised about $110,000 from over 600 donors in the area.
Wow.
That's the good news.
Yeah.
Our donors who have not been affected say, I want to help. I want to make sure these kids have what they need to continue their studies, to continue to eat, because a lot of them lost their jobs. You know, they were laid off, and many of them were in the service industries. And so they're in a tough situation. So the good news is we were able to raise this cash. As soon as we get it in the door, it goes out. Over 10,000 students have applied. So we are still working hard to raise more money in this regard. If you think about that, that's almost a third of our student body who has requested aid from this emergency cares FAU program. And
what's so fascinating, what you just said, is that within a week, because we had no notice. It's not like a hurricane where you head down here where you have weeks and every day it's on the news. It might be coming to the right, it might be coming to the left. This came in moments, and within a week you raised that kind of money and had to create this whole new life. It's just unbelievable.
Let me just sort of correct one thing. We created the program within a week, and over several weeks, we've raised $110,000.
Just amazing.
Yeah, it is. We are we're pretty pleased. Yet it's just a harsh reminder of how much more there is to raise, given the needs of our students. And you may be aware too, Kara, that the federal government provided funding through their CARES Act. And the university received the first half of that money about a week or so ago. And the good news is it's money that can help students, so it augments what we've been able to do and others. The not so good news is that it's capped at about $700 per student, and that does not go very far. Yeah. So we are actively engaging our community members who are inspired by these wonderful students to support at what level they can to make that difference. So it is quite inspiring to be in this role helping students at this time.
These donors, Danita, that you're talking about, are they, the connection has to be made, or the need has to be made, and that's what you and your staff do so well. Are they mostly FAU alumni that are feeling the connection to wanting to donate?
Well, that's also a very keen question, because our donors are primarily friends of the university. As a young institution, if you think about that history, our four-year graduates didn't start until the 80s. And so if you look at some of the other public universities in the state that have had four-year degreed alumni who grew up with football and basketball, and they've got that love for alma mater, we are still building that.
Yeah.
And so the majority of our philanthropy today comes from the community. It comes from people who either left the Mid-Atlantic or the Northeast or the Midwest and decided to make the Boca Raton area their home. And they have this motto, and this is just beautiful. It's give where you live while you're living. And so there's this mantra that these donors have that relates to investing in their community. And we are the grateful beneficiary of that. And so while we continue to cultivate the alumni base, those who have earned degrees, our community is stepping up and making that difference philanthropically for Florida Atlantic University, and we are very grateful.
So getting back to my initial question about students, how would they get to do what you do? Mm-hmm. What I'm hearing also in terms of fundraising and foundation work and getting the dollars that you need to support whatever it is, in your case, it's the students at the school, there needs to be some relationship building, especially now, right?
That is absolutely right. And if I could speak to any student today, I would say lean in to your life. Lean in to friendships. When you're a student, I get it. I worked 2 jobs the entire 4 years that I attended college. But that didn't get in my way of getting involved in a sorority, being a cheerleader, being the captain, being engaged, fully engaged in those relationships, whether it's a faculty member, a fellow student, an administrator, anybody. You can't, if you're in college now, you can't be on the sidelines. You have to lean in. And you have to learn these essential face-to-face relationship skills. This is not about a text. It's not about a tweet. It's not about what you post on Instagram. It's about how you present when you're face-to-face with that individual. How do you find out what's important to them? How do you acknowledge that? How do you respond to that? Those are life skills, and they will serve you well if this is the kind of work you want to do. If you feel God put you here to serve others, think about what's involved in serving others. It's understanding what they need. It's understanding how you can help them get to that need. It's a basic life function, in my humble opinion.
I love the opinion. And with fundraising and foundation work too, it's finding that passion of that donor, because today it's so different from what I've been interviewing so many different nonprofits. It's a different donor. They want to become more involved. They want to be engaged in seeing where the money's going. And I mean, just talking to you, Danita, I'm getting ready to get my checkbook out.
I'm so happy to hear that.
Because you're so warm and sweet, and we're relating.
Yes. So it's about impact, right? Mm-hmm. Today's donors are they've leaned into their philanthropy. Okay, so no longer do they just write the check and say, "Okay, have at it, do a great job."
Yeah,
it's tell me how my money is making a difference. And you remind me of a story of a donor with whom we are currently working, who has several degrees from a very prestigious Ivy League institution. And I just assumed, a lovely person, that their philanthropy would support their alma mater.
Yeah.
And we were talking about it, and the person said to me, you all can make better use of my money. They're going to be fine. I've met some of your students. I see the faculty and what a nurturing environment FAU has. I believe that my money will go further here. It'll have a greater impact. And so when I listen to this donor talk about the impact that they've seen heretofore, I share that with others. So that's like really listening and understanding why they would select FAU over XYZ University, and then looking at the impact that that money has had on some lives of our students and, by the way, faculty. We've got donors who want to support the faculty who are actually nurturing these students and actually helping to bring out the best in them, who spend time with them. And so we have a number of professorships that have been named. It's a really great way to get prestigious faculty to come to your institution if they can come to a named role. And we have donors who understand that. It takes two things. It takes the faculty and it takes the students. And we're the middlemen, middle women, middle men. We bring them together.
Are you talking also about, in your foundation mission statement, we talk about public-private partnerships. And in a smaller town like Boca, you could probably get your students involved in the public-private relationship so they can actually see the students and how they work and bring them into their business as well for internship or summer job, things like that, right?
All the time. In fact, our donors, we're living longer. Healthy aging is playing itself out with a number of our donors. And when they get to meet the students, they want to engage with them and their lives and help them to become successful. We have one student working in a prestigious gated community with an individual who has had the same career that she wanted. And so he's mentoring her and put her in touch with organizations with whom he used to work. And she's getting really good business skills while working with the foundation of this gated community. And we have that happen regularly. That's the benefit of having our university situated within this very caring and philanthropic community.
Aren't we lucky to be here?
Yeah,
what you just said is it's so true. I always told my son, and he's got a great career going, but it took one person that recognized, saw something in him. I don't know what it was. It wasn't me. No, just kidding. But it was one professor that saw something in him, and then put him in touch with a community situation, and off he went, because it just took one person to connect.
School?
He went to Indiana University.
IU, okay.
Yeah, can you tell we're from Chicago?
And, I hear a little bit of the Midwestern.
We're Chicagoans.
Yes.
So
okay,
he went to IU, but he ended up in D.C., and he has a wonderful career. But it just started with, and he didn't know what he wanted to do, and how many kids do when they're in college, but it took one person.
Well, that's what happened with me.
Right?
It took a marketing professor many years ago. I met him after a 500-person lecture. And he says, Danita, what are you going to do when you get out? I said, I have no idea. Maybe I'll go work for the federal government. He goes, no, let me tell you what you need to be doing. And he said, you need to be out with people. You need to be selling. And I said, what are you saying, Dr. Nichols, that I should be selling vacuum cleaners door to door? Because I'm not talking about that kind of selling. And, it went there. And so I'm forever indebted to him for just paying attention to me.
Yes.
And that's something that's very natural at FAU. Our faculty are so engaged in the lives of our students, and all our students have to do is open up.
Yeah, and lean in, like you said. Lean in.
Lean in. Be present in the relationship, and the magic will happen. I see it every single day. That's why I'm so energized by what we do.
Well, you are energetic, and I'm excited about what you're doing, and I feel hopeful after our talk. I mean, things are difficult, but I feel very hopeful. And we just have a minute here. I really want you to share with us believe it or not. It went so fast, our talk.
It did.
But if you could tell everybody, how do we get in touch with you, Danita? We want to donate. We're out here. We're living the dream in South Florida, and we want to make a difference with the students.
Yes.
How do we do that?
Okay, so just a couple of things. First of all, we are all blessed to be living in paradise, right?
Yeah.
And if you want to help FAU fulfill its purpose for the people who are at FAU, our FAU Cares Emergency Fund, it's give@fau.fau.edu/FAU-cares. That money goes directly to support our students. If you want to know more about how you can help, you can call 561-297-0203, and we'd be happy to visit with you and talk about how you can get involved in the life of our university and the people who make it up.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much. I want to wish you well, stay safe and healthy.
Oh,
and thank
likewise.
you for all you
thank
do,
you,
Danita.
Kara.
Really.
That was my pleasure. Thank you for the opportunity.
Absolutely.
Go Owls.
Yeah. Go Owls.
Go Owls. Thank you so much.
All right, honey. Bye.
You've been listening to the Forum for Nonprofits, presented each week as a public service of the Beasley Media Group, Incorporated. The opinions expressed on the preceding sponsored program were strictly those of its hosts, guests, and callers, and not necessarily those of the station, its staff, management, or sponsors.